There is a huge boom when it comes to the IV hydration business. A lot of individuals do not want to go to hospitals in order to receive certain vitamins, certain treatments, and there's actually a flood of nurses that are leaving the hospital scene in order to pursue other endeavors. In today's video, I am going to talk to you about how to start an IV hydration business and the 3 common pitfalls to avoid when starting an IV hydration business. Hi, my name is Andrew. I'm the managing attorney here at FreedomThruBusiness, where we help entrepreneurs start and build their businesses. The purpose of these videos are to provide you with as much information as possible in the beginning stages of starting a business. So if you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like, subscribe, as well as a bell notification so you don't miss out on any future videos. These videos are for educational purposes only, so make sure you speak with a professional prior to doing anything. Now, if you don't already know, the nursing IV hydration business is on a rise. Individuals want to make sure that their immunity is in check. They want to make sure that they're receiving the correct vitamin C, vitamin D, etc. And so one way to do this is by hiring a nurse to go to an individual's house in order to receive these treatments. It's very straightforward, very simple, and it's very convenient for the patient. Now, with this being said, let's go ahead and talk about the 3 pitfalls to avoid when starting an IV hydration business in California. California is a strict state when it comes to administering IV hydration services. Although California is a strict state, as long as you are compliant with California state law, then you will be able to administer IV hydration services as needed. IV hydration services is governed by the Corporate Practice of Medicine regulations, so it's very important to stay compliant. The question you have to ask yourself is, which professional is most likely to administer IV hydration services? The answer to this question are going to be nurses, registered nurses, nurse practitioners, etc. Now the first common pitfall to avoid when starting an IV hydration business is to administer IV hydration services as a nurse under a sole proprietorship. If you're not too familiar with what a sole proprietorship is, it's the most simple business entity to actually start. All you need to do is start business, apply for an EIN, and open a business bank account. Now, do not let that simplicity fool you. When it comes to a sole proprietorship, and when it comes to a registered nurse administering IV hydration services, they are not permitted to administer IV hydration services under a sole proprietorship. The reason for this is because a MD needs to be involved in the process, because the administration of IV hydration services is deemed to be the practice of medicine. And so a registered nurse cannot just administer IV hydration services under their own sole proprietorship. They need to work in cahoots with a medical director, a medical professional, a medical doctor. The second pitfall to avoid when starting an IV hydration business is going to be administering services under a nursing corporation. A nursing corporation is a little bit different than a sole proprietorship in that a nursing corporation is a separate business entity. California requires all registered nurses who want to provide nursing services to establish a nursing corporation. In other words, a registered nurse is not able to create your typical LLC. They are required by California law, specifically the Moscow-Knox Act. They're required under the Moscow-Knox Act to form a nursing corporation. But the compliant aspect of this does not end there. Because the administration of IV hydration services is deemed to be the practice of medicine, a registered nurse cannot just simply register a nursing corporation and hire a medical director and start administering IV hydration services that way. This is still not permitted. What I mean by this is a registered nurse in California will form a nursing corporation. Once a registered nurse has a nursing corporation, they will then contract with an MD in order for that MD to be the medical director of the corporation. Then what will happen is registered nurses will begin administering IV hydration services under this nursing corporation with that medical director agreement in place. This is still not compliant. In order for a registered nurse to begin administering IV hydration services under some sort of corporation of their own, they need to form a medical corporation. And that leads me to the third pitfall to avoid when starting an IV hydration business. The medical corporation is the only business entity a registered nurse can use to actually administer IV hydration services to patients. The medical corporation permits the administration of IV hydration services because, again, the IV hydration service falls under the medical practice. Because, again, the administration of IV hydration services falls under the practice of medicine. Once a registered nurse forms a medical corporation, they can then administer IV hydration services under that medical corporation because now they are compliant with the practice of medicine. The only way to actually register a medical corporation is the registered nurse has to be 49% owner in the company, and the MD needs to be 51% owner in the company. The MD always has to have a majority stake in the overall corporation. When choosing a medical doctor to work with, it is very important that you choose someone that you can work with, someone that's good with communication. If you happen to have any questions about anything that I talked about in today's video, make sure you leave it in the comments down below and we'll be sure to answer them as soon as possible. If you happen to enjoy this video, please make sure you hit the like, subscribe, as well as the bell notification so you don't miss out on any future videos. It's time to invest in yourself. It's time to rise.